Senator Ron Johnson is with us now from the great state of Wisconsin. Senator, so much to talk to you about. Thanks for being here. What's your I want to ask you about the Senate deal for the border that's now no longer a deal. A lot of things. But first up, your reaction to what we learned and saw yesterday when it comes to all things Biden. What's your takeaway?
Well, none of it surprised me. I mean, didn't surprise me that they weren't going to indict him. It certainly didn't surprise me that he is impaired, mentally declining. I guess I was a little surprised that the special counsel or prosecutor, whichever it is, would point it out in the report. But no, I mean, I've been saying Biden is unfit for office, obviously, before the 2020 election, just based on corruption. And his mental decline has been pretty obvious, which is why I predicted, I think, on the show with you guys last summer, that there's no way he's going to be the presidential candidate.
So who do you think the presidential candidate will be? I mean, we know that Trump basically is locked in. You're in the state of Wisconsin where it feels like, every few weeks there's another poll that essentially says Wisconsin is 50-50. You know that better than anybody because you've won a couple of very close elections of late. Who do you think the Democrat pick will be, and how do you think it will play in your state of Wisconsin if it's somebody other than Joe Biden on the ballot against Donald Trump?
Well, I wish Bobby Kennedy would have stayed in the Democrat primary so he could be the candidate, but that didn't happen. My guess, they'll just pick whoever polls the best and be most electable. Let's face it, Democrats, they know how to open up a border. They know how to destroy economies. They know how to create inflation, and they also know how to win elections. So they will be smart. They'll be savvy, and they'll pick somebody, whoever they think has got the best chance at that moment. And not who's the most qualified, but who has the best chance at that moment to become president of the United States and continue the destruction of this country.
Senator Johnson, the Senate border deal is a no-go. What happened there? I mean, what do you think McConnell and Langford and some of the others were really hoping was going to get accomplished with that initial deal? And what do you think should be done going forward?
First of all, the blame rests solely with McConnell. He wanted, above all, funding for Ukraine. That was his priority. He came to realize later last year that that wasn't going to be possible if we didn't do something on the border. And so, all of a sudden he's four square in charge of, or in favor of, okay, we're going to deny cloture on this supplemental package and show them we're serious about securing the border. I knew that was a charade from get-go. And so McConnell then proceeded to, rather than debate this in public, and rather than listen to the conference, he said, this is pretty simple. We just need to tie Ukraine funding, for example, to metrics where the border is actually secure. I mean, we don't need, the president always has the authority, right? Trump had it. He secured the border. Biden had the authority. He opened up the border, so he has the authority to close it down. So let's just do something simple and tie Ukraine funding to securing the border. Instead, McConnell stupidly entered into secret negotiations for months, came up with this Rube Goldberg monstrosity that did far more harm than good, and I'm happy to talk about that, and, laid that, on the American public in less than 24 hours. That thing was so awful, it got destroyed. So this isn't Langford's fault, okay? I mean, Langford knows the border issues, knows Democrats, gets along with them, not a bad guy to negotiate, but McConnell was the mastermind. He was pulling the strings. And Senator Murphy actually said that. He said, McConnell, his staff was in the room the whole time. He wrote the bill. So this is McConnell's fault. It's what he, I think, always intended. He wasn't serious about securing the border, even though Republicans are. And what he's done is marched us into a box canyon, given Democrats political cover, and now we're, setting up Republicans to be blamed. I mean, how stupid politically is that?
Why is Mitch? All of that, I think most of our listeners, if not all, will agree with. We're talking to Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. It begs the immediate question follow-up. Why in the world is Mitch McConnell still the Senate Majority Leader?
Well, I helped lead the effort. Rick Scott ran challenging him in the start of this Congress, and we got 10 votes. Mitch, and he's done it twice in the last 2 weeks, reminds the conference all the time how many hundreds of millions of dollars he raises in the Senate Leadership Fund. I mean, just brazenly is always talking about that. Before we have a serious discussion, colleagues, I just want to remind you, we're having a record year raising money for the Senate Leadership Fund. And, then he publicly talks about how much he allocated for every Senate race. He actually did support my race in 2022 after abandoning me in 2016. And he likes taking credit for my win. So that impacts some people. You can see it doesn't have the slightest impact on me.
Speaking to Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and Senator, you're not up for this in this cycle, but clearly there's going to be some very tight Senate races and also a presidential election that it's going to be fierce or fiercely contested. Not sure exactly how it's all going to shake out. Nobody is. But in Wisconsin, how are Republicans looking going into this election cycle? Let's assume we know it's going to be Trump v. some Democrat. How are you looking just in terms of the state Republican Party's preparation, funding, get out the vote efforts? We talk about this with friends from Pennsylvania and Arizona and other places. How's your state looking for Republicans to be able to come out on top in 2024?
Well, it'll be razor thin. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the liberal now Supreme Court is going to redistrict federal races as well. They're going to probably bust up the Wisconsin legislature. But in order to win in Wisconsin, you need a strong ground game. I know the Republican Party of Wisconsin's focus is on a strong ground game, training volunteers. I know some of the bigger donors are certainly involved in a process of funding a strong ground game. As much as we have rallied against absentee ballots, we've had to embrace it. So we're out there early voting. So it really is. It's about paid field staff. It's about a strong ground game, training volunteers. The good news is we did get over 5,000 poll workers signed up before the deadline. That was crucial in my race. Milwaukee, if you notice, got their votes in by 11 o'clock at night because we had Republican paid poll workers and observers there keeping an eye on the process. So we've done a lot of right things, but it's going to be razor thin. But we need to spend more money on the ground game, less money on stupid ads.
We're talking to Senator Ron Johnson, won a close race in 16 and 22, knows the state of Wisconsin better than anybody, and frankly, whoever wins Wisconsin probably has a very good chance to be the next president of the United States. All right, much less serious as we go into Super Bowl weekend. Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. I know your beloved Green Bay Packers were eliminated by the San Francisco 49ers. Will you watch? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. Thanks for bringing that back up. I will be rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs because Roger Marshall wears all this Kansas City Chief sportswear, and I'd hate to see him lose. So I'll be rooting for the Chiefs. And San Francisco beat us when they shouldn't have. I just hope it's a good game. I mean, I love a close football game, down to the wire. Hopefully it doesn't go into overtime. That's annoying. Bring it down the last second. Either a turnover or a field goal kick. I'd like to see somebody win it rather than lose it, though. So a field goal kick of final drive touchdown, that's what I like to see in the Super Bowl.
Senator Ron Johnson, we appreciate the time. We'll get you on again quite a bit, I'm sure, throughout 2024, as your state is going to matter tremendously, and we want to have all of your insights as frequently as we can. Appreciate all the work.
Have a great day.